You land in Belgium thinking you'll be greeted by waffles and chocolate. And yes, they're waiting. But within your first hour, you realize this country isn't what you expected. It's more complex, more layered, and much more fascinating than its size suggests. Belgium is small, smaller than many US states, and yet it feels like several countries in one. You hear French in the south, Dutch, Flemish in the north, and even German in a tiny eastern corner. In Brussels, you hear it all, sometimes in a single sentence. It's a multilingual maze, and at first, it's a bit overwhelming. But once you understand the rhythm, it starts to make sense. You quickly learn that Flanders and Wallonia aren't just regional names, they're cultural identities. Each half of the country has its own language, feel, and pace. Cities like Ghent and Bruges are Flemish and proud of their medieval charm, while Liège and Namur lean French, elegant and relaxed. Even the signage changes depending on where you are. Suddenly, Antwerp is Anvers. Brussels is Bruxelles. You start reading names twice and cross-checking train boards more carefully. And though English is widely spoken, especially in cities, learning a few polite words in French or Dutch helps. Bonjour, dank u. You say them with a smile, and the smiles you get back are worth the effort. At first, Brussels seems like the obvious base. It's the capital, after all. But after a few walks through the Grand Place, you start looking outward. Locals encourage you to explore beyond the capital, to Ghent, Leuven, Antwerp, Dinant, even the misty forests of the Ardennes. You also notice something unexpected. Belgium is funny. Not loud or obvious, but dry, subtle, often surreal. A peeing boy in costume as the top attraction? A building shaped like a colon? You start to appreciate the country's playful, self-aware spirit, and you realize this isn't just a stop between France and the Netherlands. Belgium is a destination of its own, and it's just getting started. You didn't plan your trip around the weather, but in Belgium, the sky often has plans of its own. You quickly learn that the weather here changes fast. Sunshine one moment, drizzle the next. Locals laugh about it. You learn to carry an umbrella, wear layers, and never rely too heavily on the forecast. It's part of the charm, in a way. That soft gray sky, the golden light that filters through clouds, the sound of rain on cafe awnings. It's not bad weather. It's Belgian weather. But if you do have a choice, knowing when to go makes a big difference. Spring, March to May, feels like the country waking up. The air is crisp, the crowds are smaller, and flowers begin to bloom, especially in cities like Ghent and Bruges, where canal reflections sparkle under the morning mist. You still need a jacket, but you'll also get long, gentle afternoons, perfect for walking. Summer, June to August, is the most popular time, and you feel it. Tourists crowd into the Grand Place, tour boats fill the canals, and restaurant terraces buzz with life. But it's also festival season, and Belgians love a good festival. From music to beer to medieval parades, there's something happening nearly every weekend. Expect crowds, higher prices, and longer days full of energy. Then comes autumn, September to November, arguably the country's most underrated season. The trees lining cobbled streets in Leuven and Liège turn golden. The summer rush fades, and everything feels calmer, softer. It's the perfect time to wander through a museum, sip Trappist beer by a fireplace, or explore the countryside as the leaves fall. Winter, December to February, may be cold and damp, but it brings its own magic. Brussels and Bruges transform with twinkling lights and Christmas markets. You warm up with waffles and hot chocolate. And if you time it right, carnival season in February brings wild costumes, orange-throwing parades, and cultural pageantry you won't find anywhere else. In Belgium, no season is perfect, and none is wrong. The secret isn't choosing the right time. It's choosing the right mindset. Because here, every month tells a different story, and rain often comes with the best views. At first, Belgium feels familiar. It's Western Europe. People dress like you. The trains run on time. The cafes feel cozy. But as the days pass, you begin to notice something deeper. A quiet, thoughtful culture that doesn't try to impress you, but invites you to pay closer attention. You realize quickly, Belgians are reserved, but warm once you get to know them. They won't greet you with loud energy or ask personal questions right away, but they'll hold the door, help you with directions, or strike up a gentle conversation once you've broken the ice. And that ice usually melts over a shared beer, a quiet lunch, or a stroll through town. Belgians value personal space, subtle humor, and honesty. They're polite, but not overly formal. You might not be hugged, but you will be welcomed. You also begin to see the balance between French and Dutch, between modern and historic, between cities that feel like fairy tales and neighborhoods filled with gritty, expressive street art. Belgium doesn't have one identity, it has many, and it embraces all of them. In Flanders, there's a sense of precision and order. In Wallonia, a more relaxed pace and lyrical tone. In Brussels, a mix of both, layered with international flair, thanks to its role as the heart of the European Union. You learn that language matters, not just for communication, but for cultural pride. Saying bonjour in a Flemish town might earn a pause. Saying goeie morgen in a French-speaking café might raise a brow. It's not anger, just identity. And when you try the local greeting, even badly, it shows respect. And yes, Belgium has politics, complicated ones. The government is a masterpiece of compromise. But locals live it with humor. Satirical comics, surreal art, and dry jokes about bureaucracy are everywhere. It's a country that doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's part of the charm. You don't need to master the culture to enjoy it. You just need to observe, listen, and show a little curiosity. Because in Belgium, understanding isn't shouted. It's shared, slowly, quietly, over time, and maybe with a side of fries. In Belgium, you don't need a car to see the country. In fact, you're better off without one. From the moment you step into a Belgian train station, you feel it. This country was built for public transportation. Trains glide in on time. Platforms are well marked. And in just over an hour, you can get from the medieval charm of Bruges to the international buzz of Brussels. No stress, no rental car, no GPS meltdown. You download the SNCB NMBS app, Belgium's national rail system, and suddenly, the whole country opens up. From Ghent to Leuven, from Antwerp to Liège, even to sleepy towns like Mechelen or Spa, everything is reachable by train. The distances are short, the seats are comfortable, and the views are beautiful. Cow-speckled pastures, misty church steeples, tidy rows of houses with flower boxes under every window. In cities like Brussels, Antwerp, and Ghent, you switch to trams and buses. Clean, quiet, and frequent, they take you exactly where you need to go, often within minutes. You don't need to overthink it. You tap your card, hop on, hop off. You walk more. You watch more. You begin to travel not to get somewhere, but to notice more on the way. And then there's biking, especially in Flanders. The infrastructure is incredible. Bike lanes, bike traffic lights, bike highways. Locals ride in all weather, dressed for work, school, or the cafe. You rent a bike and join them, feeling suddenly more connected, more present. Even walking feels different here. The streets are made for it. You wander through narrow lanes in Bruges, stumble upon hidden courtyards in Ghent, and find art installations under overpasses in Liège. You stop for coffee without a plan. You realize this isn't about speed, it's about style. Belgium reminds you that good travel doesn't require long drives or expensive tours. Sometimes, the best moments happen on a quiet train platform or while biking beside a canal. Because in this country, getting around isn't a chore, it's part of the charm. And every journey, no matter how short, tells its own little story. You don't come to Belgium expecting luxury. But as you check into your first hotel, you're surprised, not because it's grand, but because it's thoughtful, elegant, comfortable in that quiet European way. In Brussels, you stay in a restored townhouse, tall windows, creaky floors, a view of the street below where people pass on bicycles, and the smell of fresh bread drifts up from the bakery next door. The room is small but charming. Everything has purpose: a well-placed lamp, a vintage wardrobe, a breakfast spread that includes 5 kinds of cheese and perfect coffee. And then you realize, Belgium does hotels like it does everything else, with quiet quality. If you're staying in Bruges or Ghent, the options feel like something out of a fairy tale. You might find yourself in a medieval inn overlooking a canal, or a family-run B&B tucked into a 15th century house with wooden beams and flower boxes. The magic isn't in the grandeur, it's in the atmosphere. Antwerp offers a different vibe. Trendy boutique hotels in old warehouses, or minimalist designer lofts near art galleries and concept stores. The city is bold and creative, and your accommodation reflects that. Looking for more intimacy? You try a guide or guest house in the countryside. Maybe in the Ardennes, where a renovated stone cottage overlooks pine forests and wildflowers. Or in Wallonia, where a local host serves you homemade jam in the morning and tips for a quiet hiking trail in the afternoon. Here, you don't feel like a tourist. You feel like a guest. If you're traveling on a budget, Belgium's hostels are clean, modern, and surprisingly stylish, especially in university towns like Leuven or Namur. And many include private rooms, bike rentals, and community dinners. The vibe is easygoing, welcoming, and international. One tip? Stay in the city center whenever you can. Belgian cities are walkable, and there's nothing better than stepping outside your door straight into a market square, a cobbled street, or the smell of fresh waffles on the breeze. Because in Belgium, your hotel isn't just a place to sleep, it's part of the story, a front-row seat to everything the country does best: charm, calm, and quiet beauty. You came to Belgium for the chocolate, the fries, and maybe the beer, but you stay for something much richer, a culinary culture that's humble, hearty, and quietly world-class. Your first real Belgian meal isn't in a Michelin-starred restaurant. It's on a street corner, a paper cone of frites, double fried to golden perfection, served with creamy, tangy mayonnaise. You sit by a fountain and eat them with a wooden fork, smiling like a kid. You think, why are these better than any fries I've ever had? The answer: care, tradition, and the right potato. Then come the waffles. Not just one kind, but several. You try a Liège waffle, dense and caramelized with pearl sugar, eaten hot from a food truck. Later, a lighter Brussels waffle, dusted with powdered sugar, and maybe topped with strawberries or whipped cream. It's not dessert. It's a snack, a ritual, a small joy. You sit down for a proper meal and discover moules frites, mussels steamed in white wine, garlic, and herbs, paired with fries. You're hesitant at first, then completely won over. In Ghent, you try waterzooi, a creamy chicken or fish stew. In Wallonia, meatballs with cherry beer sauce. Every dish tells you something about the region: earthy, inventive, proud. And then, of course, there's the beer. You don't just drink it, you explore it. Trappist ales, brewed by monks. Sour lambics, aged in oak barrels. Fruity Creek made with cherries. Every beer has its own glass, its own shape, its own purpose. You sit in a quiet cafe and sip slowly, tasting centuries of craft in a single pour. You also notice how Belgians eat. Not fast, not fussy, but with appreciation. Lunch is lingering. Dinner is social. There's no rush, no bottomless anything. Food is quality over quantity, and more than that, it's local. Even the chocolate is different. You pop into a shop, not a chain, but a family-run chocolatier, and taste something rich, bitter, silky. Not sweet, not loud, just perfect. And that's the real secret of Belgian food. It doesn't shout, it just shows up, quietly, generously, and asks you to pay attention. Before you arrived, you worried about the language. Would they speak English? Would you offend someone with the wrong word? But now, after a few days in Belgium, you realize it's not about speaking perfectly, it's about showing respect. Belgium has 3 official languages: Dutch, called Flemish in the north, French in the south, and a small German-speaking community in the east. In Brussels, signs appear in both French and Dutch, and sometimes even English. At first it's confusing. But then, you start to notice the rhythm. In Flanders, hallo or goeiedag. In Wallonia, bonjour or bonsoir. Say the right greeting, and you'll see faces soften. Even if your accent is clumsy, people appreciate the effort. Say nothing at all, and you'll likely get a colder reception. Not out of rudeness, but because here, manners matter. The golden rule? Always greet people. Whether you're walking into a bakery, boarding a train, or asking for help, start with a friendly bonjour or hallo. Follow with s'il vous plaît or alsjeblieft. End with merci or dank you. You don't need full sentences, just small signs of awareness. You also start to notice the tone of Belgian culture. It's not loud or boastful. People speak softly in public, avoid confrontation, and give others space. You won't hear arguments on the tram or loud music in cafes. It's a country of consideration, not spectacle. Don't be surprised if people seem reserved at first. They're cautious, not cold. But once they open up, you'll find Belgians to be witty, thoughtful, and curious. Conversations are often dry-humored, filled with irony. You laugh, sometimes without knowing why. And that's part of the charm. You begin to mirror their habits. You dress a little more neatly. You lower your voice. You say pardon before stepping past someone. You give space on sidewalks, in line, in conversation, and soon, you stop feeling like a tourist trying to fit in. You feel like someone who understands the quiet language of everyday respect. Because in Belgium, connection doesn't come through volume or showmanship. It comes through small gestures, shared smiles, and the grace of being present. You didn't plan your trip around a festival, but in Belgium, celebration often finds you. One morning, you wake up in Ghent to the sound of music echoing through the cobbled streets. You follow the sound and find yourself in the middle of Gentse Feesten, a 10-day citywide party full of concerts, parades, street theater, and endless laughter. It's wild, but somehow still feels organized. You didn't expect it, but now you can't imagine missing it. Belgians may seem quiet, but when they celebrate, they go all in. Not for show, but for tradition. In Binche, you witness carnival, where men in feathered hats throw oranges into the crowd with solemn joy. In Brussels, you stumble upon Omegang, a medieval parade where knights and royalty take over the Grand Place. There's a surreal beauty to it, like stepping into a time machine powered by pride and performance. And then there are the markets, the kind that feel like festivals even when they're weekly. In Bruges, Antwerp, or Namur, you wander past stalls of cheese, flowers, fabrics, and art. You sip a local beer while a violinist plays nearby. You chat with a chocolatier who insists you try a praline on the house. These aren't tourist traps. They're part of life. Places where locals meet, talk, and taste the world around them. In winter, things don't slow down. They glow. Christmas markets take over town squares with wooden stalls, fairy lights, mulled wine, and carousels. You sip vin chaud, try roasted chestnuts, and suddenly feel like a kid again. The air is cold, but the atmosphere is warm, like the country is pulling you into a seasonal embrace. And even when there's no event on the calendar, you realize Belgium creates joy in the ordinary. A spontaneous brass band in the street, a floral carpet laid across Brussels' Grand Place, a church bell ringing over a quiet village cafe. You learn that joy here isn't loud or forced. It's woven into the rhythm of life. Because in Belgium, celebration doesn't always need a reason. Sometimes, it just needs a street, a song, and a few people willing to stop and smile. By now, you've settled in. You know how to greet people, order a beer, navigate a train station. But even in a place as welcoming as Belgium, there are a few common mistakes that can make your experience clumsy, or even a little awkward. The first? Assuming everyone speaks French. In Wallonia, yes, French is everywhere. But in Flanders, Dutch, Flemish, is the mother tongue. And starting every conversation with bonjour in Ghent or Antwerp may get you a cold response. It's not anger, it's identity. When in doubt, lead with a polite hello in English. Or better yet, ask, do you speak English? You'll be met with appreciation instead of frustration. Another mistake? Misunderstanding meal times. Lunch is usually from 12 to 2, and dinner starts around 7 or 8 p.m. Show up at 5 p.m. expecting a full meal, and you'll likely find a closed kitchen. And don't forget, you must ask for the bill when you're ready to leave. In Belgium, lingering is part of the dining culture, and no one will rush you out. Then there's restaurant etiquette. Water is not automatically served, and often not free. Splitting the bill? It's not always welcome. Tips are appreciated but not required, as service is usually included. One more faux pas? Being too loud. On trams, in cafes, even at markets, volume is kept low. Belgians are private, and discretion is respected. You notice the difference immediately when a loud tourist walks into a silent museum, and so does everyone else. Also, don't just stick to Brussels and Bruges. These cities are beautiful, yes, but Belgium's soul is found in the in-between. The small towns, the hidden corners, the streets without souvenir shops. Explore Leuven, Mechelen, Tournai, or Derby. You'll find fewer crowds, better prices, and a more authentic rhythm. And finally, don't rush. Belgium may be small, but it's not a checklist country. It's a place to wander, to notice, to feel, because in Belgium, the worst mistake isn't a wrong word or a missed train. It's failing to slow down and missing the beauty that's quietly waiting for you. You pack your bag in the quiet of a Belgian morning. Outside your window, the street is damp from a light rain, and the scent of bread floats in from the bakery down the block. You've been here long enough to notice the small things now, and that's how you know it's time to leave. But leaving Belgium doesn't feel final. It feels like stepping away from something intimate, something earned. You came for the beer and chocolate, the waffles, and the architecture. You leave with something you didn't expect, a deeper sense of stillness, a slower pace, an appreciation for the subtle, the quiet, the well-made. You think back to your first days, trying to speak the right language, ordering fries the Belgian way, navigating trams with too much confidence and not enough understanding. And then you remember how it all softened, your steps, your schedule, your sense of control. You learned to pause before entering a shop and say, "Bonjour." You learned that one beer, savored in silence by a canal, could be better than 5 in a noisy bar. You learn that sometimes small countries have the biggest personalities. They just whisper instead of shout. Belgium didn't demand your attention. It earned it, through cobbled lanes and candlelit cafes, stained glass and unexpected art, surreal humor and deep pride. The people you met didn't overshare, but they showed up. In helpful directions, in quiet jokes, in perfectly served plates. You take it all with you, the language of politeness, the rhythm of slow meals, the value of not rushing, the joy of being present in a place that doesn't beg to be noticed. As your train pulls away or your plane ascends, you look back not at a single city, but at a feeling of having been somewhere thoughtful, layered, and endlessly human. You didn't just visit Belgium, you listened to it. And now, as you move forward, you carry its best gift, the reminder that some of life's richest experiences are found in the quiet corners of the map.